Wembley, on the day when the Giants met the Giant Killers. Swindon for the Cup was the hopeful cheer of thousands of fans who had come from Wiltshire to see their third division heroes face mighty First Division Arsenal in the final of the League Cup.
As the 1960s draw to a close, the world is a cauldron of change and upheaval. The streets of London and cities across the UK echo with anti-Vietnam War protests. Across the Atlantic, tragedy as Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy are assassinated. Yet amidst the turmoil, British culture soars to new heights. The Beatles, Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin dominate global airwaves. Their music a soundtrack to a generation. In cinemas, Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey redefines science fiction, while Planet of the Apes captures the public imagination. In Britain, the nation is still basking in the afterglow of England's 1966 World Cup triumph at Wembley. In the First Division, the powerhouses of the game trade blows. Liverpool, under the legendary Bill Shankly, clinched the title in '66. Manchester United, inspired by the Holy Trinity of Best, Law and Charlton, take the crown in '67 and '68. But our story takes us away from the glamour of the top flight, down to the third division. Here, Swindon Town, under the guidance of manager Danny Williams, are quietly building something special. In '66, they finish a modest 14th in Division 3. The next year, they climb to 10th. By 1968, they've reached 6th place, knocking on the door of promotion. Yet it's in the League Cup where Swindon will make their mark, and this competition will become the stage of one of football's greatest fairy tales. This is their story. Taking us through their remarkable journey to Wembley are three Swindon Town legends. First, our record breaker, John Trollope. The midfield dynamo, Joe Butler. And finally, the iconic Don Rogers.
Well, we played a lot of games together, so we got to know one another really well. I mean, it's always a joke with people now, because I always say that I did all the running for him, but obviously that was very untrue. It was other way around, but people give me very strange looks sometimes. But no, he was up and down all the time. He liked to tackle, and he got in the opposition box more than I did. So, but just a very good player, obviously.
When I moved to Swindon, I was a left back. I've realised that John was a regular. He played so many games and what have you, and up and down the field, as Don's mentioned and what have you. And he was just a really, really good player. So I looked at it and I thought, well, I've got to do something here, to get in the side. And that's why I went in to see Danny and mentioned about playing in midfield.
Joe, great worker. Roger Smart and Joe were the workhouse in the team with John Smith, obviously doing the orchestrating really, but it was Joe and Roger who done the work, the tackling. And I can always remember Fred Ford saying about Joe, and he was in a bad mood, and I don't know what happened, but he said, you lot, he said, doing all that, he said, and then you got little Joe going in like nobody's business. So that is how he was summed up. I mean, he put his all in every game.
Well, Joe he's a typical left footer. I mean, really good left foot Joe. And looked very good, not very big, great in the tackle. Worked his socks off every game, and he was good pass for a ball, very good player.
Who? Well, Don is obviously well known for taking players on, best player I played with as regards taking players on and scoring goals. And probably of the one-on-one situation with the keeper in my era, or our era anyway, I would say Jimmy Greaves, George Best and Don were the best I've seen. They just knew how to beat that keeper. But not that, I mean, he made many goals, and I think many people would say, well, he gets bums off seats.
I heard a lot about Don before I got to Swindon, because they played Newcastle in, I think it was in the second division then, I think. And anyway, everybody was on about how good a player he was and wherever. And once I got in the side and seen what he was like, and he was an exceptional player, exceptional. Cool as could come in front of the goal, and really, really quick. And he's the perfect fella you would want one-on-one. And he was just a really, really special player.
The summer of 1968 had brought three important signings. Centre-half Frank Burrows arrived from Scunthorpe United. He forged a significant partnership with captain Stan Harland. Midfielder John Smith moved from Torquay United and was the creative midfield general in the town engine room. And Chris Jones left Manchester City for the county ground to play an important role in League and Cup.
Old type of defender, put his head or his foot anywhere. Great at blocking shots and things like that. And he was the one who did give you a bit of stick. Especially me, because I had an understanding with Don about going forward, and Frank wasn't so keen on it.
Very experienced player. I think he played for Tottenham. And I'm not sure if he had a under 21 cap for England, but he was more so the general of the midfield. When the games got a bit tough and what have you, John would stand up to that and he'd sort a few players out. But really good player, really good player.
Hard worker, good goal scorer. And that's about sums him up, really. We played an away game somewhere, and he went up to the barn and he ordered a pint of Snowball. Well, normally it's a small drink normally, but orange and whatever, I don't know what it is, but I've never forgotten that. Fred Ford said, "What?"
Ironically for John Smith, the season kicked off against Torquay in the League Cup. A crowd of 14,000 watched a game which could have seen the town campaign halted at the first round stage. John Rowlands gave the goals a first half lead. An indirect free kick led to indecision in the town penalty area, and the ball fell to Rowlands, who side-footed home. Half-time brought the chance for the town to regroup, and on the hour they were level. Roger Smart, playing a 1-2 with Don Rogers, had smashed the ball past Donnelly in the Torquay goal. 10 minutes later, Swindon were in front. A Rogers cross, a Donnelly mistake, and Peter Noble finished to put the town ahead and on their way to the second round.
Yeah, we were lucky to get through on the Torquay game, which was obviously the first round. And on a personal note, obviously that's where it finished for me until March of the following year. The next game at Hartlepool, I think it was a big forward up at Hartlepool come clattering into me. I fell over and broke my arm. And again, we talked about Harry Cousins, and he came on, and the bone was poking up a little bit, and he said, "You better come off." But there was no subs in those days, so obviously we were down to 10 men, and the lads, had to play without me.
Well, Roger was run all day. Perfect player to have in your team, really. He'd be all over the shop, And he could score as well. He probably had more chances in games than I did, so. But he was just an all-round player you wanted in your team.
On to the second round of the League Cup. Swindon travelled to Valley Parade to take on Bradford City. The town had named an unchanged side to the one that beat Plymouth Argyle in the league 3-0. Swindon struck first. They created chances through Peter Noble and John Smith before Noble crossed for Roger Smart to head home. Bradford launched a second-half onslaught on the town goal and got the equaliser when Tony Leighton cracked the ball home. A draw at Valley Parade and a replay to come on home soil.
Well, Bradford City away, I mean, it's very long the competition, and in a club like us, I mean, we weren't thinking about winning anything at that time, but I mean, we came away with a 1-1 draw, and so that was a good result away from home.
The second game didn't start well for Swindon. John Hall firing home after just 2 minutes. In heavy rain, it got worse for the town. Peter Middleton picked up a poor clearance to fire home the second City goal. Just after the half hour, Swindon were back in the game. John Smith hit his first goal for the club. 3 minutes later, the town were level. Don Heath was fouled in the box, Don Rogers scoring from the spot. A third Swindon goal comes on 68 minutes. Roger Smart scores, and 6 minutes later, Peter Noble has a fourth. It looks all over, but Bobby Ham beats the offside flag and fires home to round off the scoring in a thrilling match.
We came back. And I always remember, I can remember going 2-0 down. That's one thing I can remember. And we came back and won 4-3, which probably was an omen for the rest of the season.
After the epic second round against Bradford came a home meeting against Blackburn Rovers. Swindon included Mick Blick in for the injured Frank Burrows and making his only cup appearance of the season. The previous round was a goal fest, but not this time round. It was a solitary Don Rogers goal that won the game. Chris Jones won the ball and slid a pass through to Rogers, who beat Adam Blacklaw in the Rovers' goal to score what was to prove the decisive goal. Don Heath put the ball in the Blackburn net, but it was disallowed. So on to the fourth round, an away tie against Coventry City, who'd beaten West Ham in the previous round.
Yeah, but Blackburn Rovers, I don't remember too much at all about that game, because we ended up winning 1-0 and I scored the goal, which takes a lot of remembering. It was just another game on the way to the final.
When I first moved to Swindon, I stayed in the hostel and Mick was there. So I got to know him reasonably well. We had about 15 players to choose from, and Mick was just on that outer edge of that. But a nice lad and good player, but as I say, he never really got the opportunity.
Swindon Town are into the fourth round of the Football League Cup. The opposition, Coventry City, the Sky Blues from Division 1. In the first game, Swindon led at the break. A Joe Butler through ball finds Don Rogers, who shrugs off a tackle before firing past Bill Glazier. On 70 minutes, Swindon were 2 up. Roger Smart latches on to a Don Heath header and finds the net. It looked comfortable for the town, but Coventry stormed back, and 2 goals in 2 minutes got the Sky Blues a replay. John Tudor pulled one back, and Tony Haitley headed the equaliser. 2-2, and it's off to the county ground for the replay 5 days later.
It was a good draw for us to start with, Coventry City away. You know, it's always nice to play at Division 1 grounds, which they were at the time. And what I remember at the game is I know we were 2-0 up with about 10 minutes to go. And my wife and father-in-law left to get a good start on it because they thought we'd won. And they called into this pub about 10 minutes from the ground and to have a drink and they heard some people talking and saying, well, it's a good result for Coventry tonight, wasn't it? And of course, they went over and said, what was the score? And they said, they couldn't believe what the score was. So they missed the last 2 goals.
Nice lad, good winger, good crossover ball, and he really worked hard. He was one of these up and downers and what have you. Really, really good. And good lad to have on your side.
In the replay, Willie Penman gets his first start of the season as Owen Dawson misses out through injury. Swindon make no mistake and are 3-up in 23 minutes. Penman gets the third after Rogers and Smart got the first two. It's the quarter-final for Swindon and a date with Derby County, managed by a certain Brian Clough.
I think the replay, it was a 3-0, I'm pretty sure it was 3-0. Yeah, and I think we were just better than them. I remember that. I don't know what, the goals were quite early on, I think, as well, some of them. But it was a really good performance that night. I mean, we won very well.
Well, Willie was at Newcastle when I was at Newcastle. He played a fair few times for them, and but he had quite a bit of experience. He moved here and he moved just along the road from where I lived. He'd always come in and do a good job, and but he was never a real regular. I think probably if he'd been in any other team, wherever he'd been in the side all the time. He was a really good player and a nice lad.
Swindon Town are drawn away at Brian Clough's Derby County. The Rams are an emerging force. The first game took place within the tight confines of the baseball ground in front of 35,000 fans. It ended goalless. Despite chances for the county forward Kevin Hector, Swindon take the tie to a replay at a packed county ground on bonfire night.
It was Derby County, and the first game was, I think we took a bit of a battering really overall. Ended up 0-0. But I think they had to do a lot of defending that night. And it's one of those games when you're very happy to come away with a 0-0. You know, you've put your bodies on the line and everything, and we got a replay out of it.
And so on to that replay on the 5th of November 1968. And the breakthrough comes 27 minutes in. Swindon's Owen Dawson and Roger Smart are involved. The ball reaches Don Rogers, whose shot loops past Les Green after a deflection, and the Town are into the semi-final, just one round from Wembley.
We ended up winning 1-0 through a very fortunate goal, which I was credited with, but it went in off the back of Dave Mackay, looped over the goalie, and when you look at omens about winning the cup final, that one was probably one of them, because it's probably the only way we were going to score. I mean, to beat Derby, or a top Division 2 side at that time, which is now the Championship, and a manager like Brian Clough, I mean, who a year or two later went on with the Division 1 title, I mean, it was a hell of a performance for us.
Very good fullback. Yeah. Obviously a Welsh international, and I can't remember too many wingers going past him, because he had those legs, and he seemed to just stretch his legs farther and farther and get the ball. No, a very good defender, good on the ball as well for a fullback, because it wasn't always that us fullbacks were that good on the ball, but Rod certainly was. Very good player.
The semi-final was to prove epic. Burnley were the opposition from Division 1. Steve Kindon, Frank Casper and Dave Thomas were included in their line-up. Swindon wore white for the first leg at Turf Moor and were unchanged for the weekend FA Cup win over Canterbury. Having had a goal disallowed, the Town took the lead through captain Stan Harland, who smashed the ball into the net on 44 minutes. The equaliser came on 64 minutes. Ralph Coates reacts quickest to stab the ball home. But the fans were silenced a minute later. Don Rogers slid a perfect pass through to Peter Noble, who finishes to put the Town back in front. 2-1 to Swindon.
Well, Burnley, the first game against Burnley at Turf Moor was, a lot of my memories are more about the train that got there late, I think, than funny enough, because everybody's known it. But well, it was a great performance, the away game. I mean, to go up there, and because we knew it was going to be a very tough game, that one, and to end up coming away with a 2-1 victory was unbelievable. And of course, everybody's now thinking, oh, crike, you know, we're at Wembley now, we've got to be, which is a wrong thing to think.
Stan was captain, and he drove us on. He led the team. along with Frank and John Smith, I thought. Not quite so robust as Frank, but it was those two, especially first 20 minutes at Wembley, that Peter Downsworth and those two really kept us in the game.
So to a sellout second leg at the county ground. Burnley are without goal scorer from the first leg, Coates. In 2 second-half minutes, though, the Clarets take control of the tie. Frank Casper, whose son Chris will one day play for Swindon, levels the tie overall. And a minute later, Steve Kindon puts the Clarets 3-2 up on aggregate. Town, though, are back in it 5 minutes later. John Smith heading home. 3-3 on aggregate and on to the Hawthorns for the decider.
They've started off really well. Burnley, they've gone 2-0 up in this game. And a very unusual occurrence. John Smith, I think, headed to goal to make it 2-1. Level on aggregate. Very tough game.
Obviously, you wanted to be out on the pitch, having played about 7 years without missing a game. And I was lucky enough to go to every game. Danny kept me involved, even though obviously I wasn't fit up to play or anything. He kept me involved, and I did. And I think the two games I were the Burnley games. There was a great battle in midfield with Blunt, I think his name was, and John Smith, and they were like kicking lumps out of each other, sort of thing. Those were three. It was 3 games, I think, wasn't it? You know, and I think those were really good cup ties.
In the replay, Peter Noble and Don Heath pass late fitness tests, so Swindon remain unchanged. Ralph Coates, though, returns for Burnley. On 7 minutes, Swindon are in front. John Smith hits an unstoppable drive to give the Town the lead. Swindon are just seconds from Wembley, but are denied in the last minute of normal time. Dave Thomas latches on to a rebound from a goalmouth scramble and fires home. So, extra time and some words from the Town boss Danny Williams. It's Burnley who strike first. Frank Casper drives into the Town net. It gets better for Swindon, though. On 104 minutes, Arthur Bellamy puts through his own net and Town are level. 4 minutes later, Swindon get the decider. Peter Noble drives past the Burnley keeper and they're on their way to Wembley for the first time in the club's history. Swindon celebrate in style, with the 7,000 Town fans at the ground and with fish, chips and lemonade on their way home.
Went 1-0 up. Then we ended up going 2-1 down. And again, I think, if I remember it right, one of their players has headed the ball into his own net to make it 2-2. And then we got the winner to go through to the final. But I think, again, with them heading the ball in his own net, it was another omen that it was going to go for us.
But all of a sudden, the Twin Towers were in the distance, sort of thing. So you thought to yourself, well, could we? As I say, there were three good games. 3 good games. And again, Burnley were, as I said, they were the team of the moment in the Premiership, so, well, the First Division, should I say. And to do that, what we did was a bit special.
When you've done it, you think, crikey, you know, we're final at Wembley. Never imagined it all year through. But to get there like we did, and we proved what a good team we were, with all the good teams we beat, hell of a thing to achieve. Great player, Peter was, yeah. I mean, for his size, I mean, everybody would say he's probably one of the best headers of the ball you could see. And I think we got to have a great understanding with free kicks and things like that. He knew it, you know, he'd be running before and he'd be there and heading it. He's got a lot of vital goals for us as well, Peter, but he worked so hard. He was another player that you'd love to have in your team.
Well, Owen was sort of third choice at fullback at that time with Rod and myself, but he was quite capable, good defender. I think it's been said before that he was probably the smartest player you've ever seen. Immaculate, but he was a good player and could defend. And a little story, I went to a do, and a bloke came up to me, he said, "Of course, you played in 69, didn't you?" I said, "Yes." He said, the rest of the rounds, he said, because you missed most of it, he said, the defence was better without you. So I thanked him. I couldn't have grumbled if Owen had been fit, if Danny had chose Owen, because of the number of games he played compared to me. So, but fortunately for me, I managed to get in the team. As a schoolboy, it was about playing for the town. Living at Rawton, we were called the country bumpkins, because it was separate from Swindon in them days. And, to play in a final at Wembley, that's everybody's ambition as a schoolboy or as a player.
We decided that we'd go up to have a look around Wembley, which we did. And it wasn't a particularly nice day, but just going in there, driving up Wembley way, and then going out, you walk through the tunnel and just look at it all and what have you, and it was just beautiful. To think that we were going to play on there the following week and what have you, it was, it's a pinnacle, isn't it? It really is. That's what, we played in third division, and, that was the last thing on your mind. And getting there was and seeing it all and where have you, thinking that you were going to play on it the next week was just, well, it's hard to take in, really, to be honest. It's hard to take in. It was absolutely magic. The whole thing about the club at that time was great and what have you, and Harry was just a part of that. You go in and say, "Oh, I've got a hole in my sock and what have you," and Harry would give you one sock, he wouldn't give you two. The stories he used to tell you while he was treating you and what have you was a bit special, and was all part of that, the camaraderie in the club. But as I say, he was a nice fella as well.
He was brilliant, and he had one sentence things that would make you want to play.
You dread him come out on the pitch because he had a cold sponge in his thing he was going to put out on you, and he was great at talking about old times and all things like that. He really was. He was a good fella to have around. Yeah, all the players liked him.
It's the week of the 1969 League Cup final, and Swindon Town are on their way to the Twin Towers to take on the mighty Arsenal.
We did our training, I can't remember, we probably did our stamina on the Thursday. And then it was just a case of getting all their stuff as usual and on the coach and away you go. Then on the Friday evening, Watford were playing at home, and of course we were in the running to get promoted, so we thought we'd go and watch them, and that's what we did.
We tried to do things normally, really. We trained normal during the week. Went up on the Friday, as Joe said. We went to a game on the Friday night, and then Saturday morning, usual routine, ready for the game.
You try to keep it as natural as you can. You don't want to change anything. Obviously, I think a bit more talking to people, reporters or whatever, and that goes on. But apart from that, in those days, there wasn't much different. We kept it very much the same. Did the same thing as we always have done. And we just keep it normal.
On the journey up on the Friday, apparently we'd forgot, they had the strips, everything like that, but they forgot the tracksuits. And of course, Eddie Buckley, he was something else. He was another part of the football club, and he drove up and caught the coach up and delivered the tracksuits.
It wasn't just the fans, everyone joined in. The newspapers, the shop windows. You couldn't be in Swindon and not notice something was going on. Even the post office joined in. Swindon's cup run had been no fluke. They'd beaten First Division sides Coventry and Burnley and high-flying Derby County from Division 2. They were full of confidence, and so were the fans. It really was their big day. And the question on everyone's lips was, have you got a ticket for the big match? How often do the supporters of a third division club get to Wembley for a cup final? And how often do they get the chance of meeting a side like the mighty Arsenal?
We had Ewer at centre half, Bob Wilson in goal, Bob McNabb left back, Geordie Armstrong on the wing, John Radford on the right wing, unfortunately, Bobby Gould, Samuels, Story, so they were top players, and to even be near them and playing in the same game, it was a real honour for me anyway.
You're playing against somebody, and obviously they're good, but you want to prove yourself to yourself, and I think we were such a good squad, and we've come through so many battles leading up to it. I really thought that we could give a good account of ourselves. We went on a morning walk and what have you, and then back, and then we're pretty much lunch and what have you. And I remember, because I was rooming with Willie, and we watched the ITV Sport and what have you, and we looked at it, and it showed the pitch. And you just looked at it and you thought to yourself, what's happening here,
With our fitness, and the county ground was usually like that anyway, it suited us. So on the day, it probably suited our fitness and whatever. So, played into our hands a little bit.
Well, I don't think we were too disappointed with it, I mean, we wanted a lovely pitch, obviously. Everybody wants to play at Wembley with a beautiful pitch. Mm. But it's not going to be beautiful, then let it be like your own pitch at home. So, which was a big help for us, really.
Danny Williams, who has achieved what few managers can have achieved by taking a third division side to Wembley. There's Danny Williams. What a tremendous achievement by him, and certainly there can be no prouder moment for any manager than to lead his side out for a Wembley final in front of a crowd of 100,000.
Well, I think it's the noise that hits you, because obviously I think there was about 100,000 there or whatever, and that is, I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Lovely. Fortunately, the players we had quite a few comedians and what have you, and so you never really got too far ahead of yourself, sort of thing. There was always something which would distract you, sort of thing, which was a good thing for you, really. You didn't let the occasion get to you.
I think it's like everybody else would say, it's coming out of that tunnel is when you first hits you what you're actually into. Because you can't see anything until you get to the end of the tunnel, and all of a sudden, bang, it hits you then, all the noise. But you're still focused on what you're doing, really. When you start shaking hands with royalty, then it's a bit different, and you know something, you're at a different place then. And you start feeling really good about it. When we stripped the tracksuits off, brilliant, because they didn't fit very well anyway. So the quicker we got them off, the better. And it was, then you really think, the game on then, off you go. And
it's nice to be in that situation as a local lad, that you're representing your hometown club.
And John Smith well inside that centre circle as Arsenal kick off. And here's Peter Story. Smith and the first flash from Rogers. Good ball here to Butler. Playing it on for Smart. Gould flicking that on, very nice, and McClintock coming forward as he likes to. Gould! Good covering by Swindon though. Certainly their nerves are not showing yet. But Gould again to Samuels. Good shot! Good save!
Well, I think they probably had the initial part of the game, that's for sure. I mean, we were gradually getting into the game a bit more and more.
John Smith coming away for Swindon. Don Rogers beating one and another, and the roar is going with him. Little jink and a good cross, and it needed Ure to get that one away. Good work by Rogers. Smith, and a chance for Rogers again to keep it up. Off the referee, breaking nicely for Swindon to Smith, to the far post. Noble is there, and Wilson lost the ball. And my goodness, Smart was nearly there to bang it home. A bad mistake by Wilson. Noble to Smart. Rogers running inside, and Rogers is away. Now here's a great chance for him. Good work by Wilson.
Of course, it was a very strange goal. The first goal we scored with Roger scoring it. I mean, you don't see too many like that, I don't think, really. You know, mistake after mistake. But that was just a great moment, though, when we went 1-up. I mean, we couldn't believe it, really, I don't think.
And now Rogers bringing it out of defence for Swindon. Lovely play. And there to take the return. Good play by Rogers. Oh, a terrible mix-up. Noble, Simpson, Smart, and goal! What a terrible mistake by Arsenal. What a dejected man he is. It's Smart who finally pushed it home, but Ure and Wilson between them. Oh, what a happy man, Roger Smart. 10 minutes to go to half-time, and against all the odds, this third division side from Swindon are ahead.
I think it bubbled about a little bit, and then Roger just ran it in. You know, obviously to get the first goal was tremendous. You know, so. Yeah, it was good for Roger as well, because he's a local lad.
You know, you start thinking then, you start thinking, you know, can we win this, you know? There's that starts going through your mind, there's no doubt about that.
Looking for Radford. Trollope misjudging that one, he's only got Gould in the middle. Armstrong steaming up as well. Radford, good save. And here comes the corner. Gould again putting Downsborough under pressure, but Downsborough as cool as you like. Really has played well, this Swindon goalkeeper. Under that crossbar, Port going in, and another corner. And the man who comes out with so much credit is this man, Peter Downsborough. Against all the odds, he's getting up there and punching these balls away. Here's another one coming in. You're getting in. Up we go again. McNabb. Well, there's no doubt where they come from. Here comes yet another corner from Armstrong. Again under that bar, and again Downsborough there. What a game he's having. First game he's ever had at Wembley, and my goodness, he's going to remember this one. Yet another corner. Placed a bit wider this time, looking for McClintock, and Ure. But before Ure can get there, it's Haaland. It's still bobbing about. McNabb. Oh, fine save. It's still not out. Radford. Radford again. Port going in, and Downsborough. What a goalkeeper.
At Wembley, I mean, he was superb. The 20 minutes, he saved us from going behind, and you don't know what would have happened. So John Radford went past me quite a few times and got crosses in, and Frank, Stan and Pete saved me. Because after every game, he'd be off seeing about his pigeons coming back. So he was probably more interested in pigeons than he was in the game, but he was my golfing mate as well. So yeah, he was a good friend of mine.
Ure. Straight to Rogers, of all people. Graham. Now Gould off in support. Can Gould get to it now? It's a goal by Gould! And my goodness, is he not pleased with life? Bobby Gould! Oh, what a smile! And they are really happy. He's crying! Bobby Gould is crying! And poor Peter Downsborough, the man who has done more than any man could ask of a goalkeeper this afternoon. And now, with something like 3 minutes left of normal time, he's beaten at last.
No, I wouldn't have blamed him for that. No, I think. Well, you couldn't blame him anyway after the game he had. I mean, he was absolutely outstanding. I mean, for one of the best goalkeeping performances you'll ever see. But no, I wouldn't blame him for that, not at all.
Well, it just seemed to bounce for him, didn't it? He went over and then we all got there, and then, but not quite. And then all of a sudden he's there, you know.
I think we were sick, you know. When you look up at the clock and you think, oh, gee, but we were that close, you know. But as soon as we got together in between there and the extra time, we were ready to go again.
No problem, not for us, you know, because we, as he said, Danny sort of got us ready to play all the game, 90 minutes or 120 as it was in that instant. But no, I think once we went into extra time, we fancied ourselves because, you know, I'm not sure the top players train quite as hard as we used to, and that fitness paid off.
Danny was something else, he was. He saved me, obviously, and I think everything was light-hearted. You never felt kind of under pressure, and I think that was one of his picking players, and his team talks were something to behold. They really were.
He gets a lot of credit for getting all the players together, that's for one thing for sure. And his Thursday mornings was really good as well, training-wise. Hardest thing ever. Used to dread that every week, Thursday mornings. Used to say to me, the fullback, take him on, he can run. but I think he got a team together that could look after themselves. And I think that was a good thing about it. Like I said earlier, there's a few captains on the pitch, and those run the games, really.
Danny just let you play, I thought. And he never restricted what you did. He encouraged you to do what you were good at, I think. And I think that is what was the best one. But, you know, he didn't go into much detail as regards the opposition or anything. It was what we did. And I think that the squad we had looked after itself.
He made, I suppose, really, he made you feel better, I suppose, Danny, in a lot of ways, you know. You always wanted to go out and play, that's for sure. And he wanted you to play your way. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I used to work in the pits and play, and I used to come and train, and I was dedicated. And we once tried it, you know, fastening a strap to a man's leg and timing the amount of work he did on the pitch. And nobody, no matter what position he played, did above 20 minutes. Now, every Thursday morning, I used to train these odds solid for 25 minutes. Odd. And I thought, well, if ever we have an extra time, these lads will be fit to go. And we had 3 lots extra time, and we proved in the long run that fitness pays as well as good footballers.
Butler to Noble to Penman on the break. Heath outside him is Heath. Heath trying to dummy past McNabb and does so. There's a chance for Max. Well, we've got just about to the end of this period of extra time. And it's a brave man who'd put his money on a winner of this game. It's still so very even and so very, very close. Very nearly through. Rodgers! A goal by Rodgers! Don Rodgers! Goal 23 of the season for him, and the most important one of all. What a tremendous comeback by Swindon Town. All the courage in the world to go ahead of Arsenal again after being pulled back so tragically, so close to the end of normal time. Don Rodgers puts them ahead.
I'm very pleased with that goal, actually, because it's something, if I didn't kick with 2 feet, I wouldn't have scored it, you know, because it was right foot and then left foot. So, you know, I was quite pleased with that. But I was just pleased to win, and don't matter what happened.
You're now for Arsenal. And smart away for Swindon. Rodgers is streaking ahead and he's onside. Beautiful play! That is that! Don Rodgers, his second goal of the game. And that really puts Swindon Town utterly and completely in the clear. And there is this incredible scoreline. Arsenal 1, Swindon Town 3, the final whistle. Swindon have won the Football League Cup for 1969. The man who scored 2 of them, number 11.
I remember Roger Smart passing me the ball. I remember that, you know, and think... and then there was the next thing I remember, there's nobody in front of me. Just there, got the next person I can see is the goalie. So obviously run as fast as I could with the ball. I'd made up my mind what I was going to do before I got there. I was going to beat the goalkeeper. And it was very lucky on the day, really, that where the ball went, it was a flat patch, really. So I didn't miskick it, so it ended up in the back of the net, which... And the only thing I can still remember saying now is we've won the cup. I haven't bothered about anything else. You know, we've won. But it'd probably have to be my best goal, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, situation, state of the pitch, state of everything, really, and the way I did it, I suppose, is probably my best goal, I suppose.
Lord Snowden there as well. President of the Football League, Mr. Len Shipman. Has been waiting for, and now we get the lap of honour that this crowd here from Swindon has been waiting for. Danny Williams, the manager, was running there behind them. What a tremendous achievement though for Danny Williams. After playing something like 600 games for Rotherham, he came to Swindon 4 years ago and now has taken this 3rd division side to this tremendous victory at Wembley today.
It's all a blur, really, because you're so up, you go up the steps and you get to your tankard as it was then, and then obviously parading around the pitch.
A lot of the best parts are not to do with the game, really. It's after the game in the hotel. You know, Bob Monkhouse didn't. And he mentioned places around Swindon. He'd done his homework. He knew what he was talking about. Getting there late for a start because of over extra time and all that. Everybody was ready at the hotel for us to get there, and closing the bar early on the night as well, and things like that. You know, all things like that come back to you. You know, but that's all a part of it.
Yeah, we had a good night. Obviously, it's much better when you win. As I think Don said, that Bob Monkhouse said he preferred to be with us than them at that stage because we'd won. Yeah, it was a great night. Well, I think it's the crowd, the people that came out to welcome us back, and then obviously we had certain things up at the Goddard Arms and then went down to the town hall, which was massive there, crowd right round with town hall. So that was brilliant to see.
It was just a great year. you know, what a great year to win at Wembley, get promoted, and you couldn't have a better year in football.